Hello, PERL folks. We're going to talk about the online survey. Let's read this together. Everyone is required to complete this one. The beginner will want to start with doing the minimum necessary, while there's a lot of room for bells and whistles. This is a big assignment because it requires many parts to function properly. It's not that much work, but it takes a while to understand how everything fits together. This will make use of everything we've used so far. Start early with this one and don't despair if you can't finish. Get as far as possible. Use the recommendation below to break down the problem into smaller parts. Yes, folks, let me show you right now the part that I'm talking about here. There are 5 steps right here to completing this program. We're going to look at those in more details, okay? Please, if you're new to programming, do follow those, okay? If you already have done programming, then you will do those, I'm sure, by yourselves. The goal is to create a simple online survey. Allow users to choose from a number of options. It can be as simple as yes or no on an issue of your choice. The vote will be saved to the server. That means on the drive. You know how to open files and already. And the result of all votes will be displayed on the screen. Also, a vote from the same IP address should not be accepted, and you can do this until the very last. This is not a crucial aspect of this program, but it will be nice. The result from the survey should show up every time, even before we fill in the survey. It's not like CNN where you have to take the vote before you see the results. This is what we call a dynamic CGI program. The ebook calls it self-referential, but meaning the script has to respond to 2 possibilities. And this is the way all scripts on the web are going to be written in this class for the rest of the semester. Okay, first of all, your program is first, of course, called from a link, right? You click on the link, a program runs for the first time. So in other words, it's going to create a form. That state corresponds to the first level else in the pseudocode below that we're going to see in a minute. So this is the first thing the program do, right? The program has to create a form basically on the screen to take input from the user. And then once the user submits the form, the same program is called again. So this is what we call by dynamic CGI program. It creates the form and it processes the data for the form as well. The script can be called, and in that case, the script is called from the submit button, right? As opposed to a link. So now the program is called from a submit button, and there is a clue where a program will be able to tell that it's been called from a submit button when the user just answers the survey. That state corresponds to the first level if in the pseudocode below. So let's look at the pseudocode. Now this pseudocode, of course, as I said before, you don't have to follow that if you feel comfortable naturally. This is only to help those who need the help, okay? So, but this pseudocode works. It has been used for several semesters, and I don't think there's anything missing here. So you can really follow this line by line. First thing your program should do is get the CGI variable from the survey. And we should all know how to do this, right? A param. It's just a simple param statement with the name of the field coming back from the form. So grab that information. Also, ultimately, you will be grabbing the remote address, and you know how to do this from the class notes, from the env Apache variables. Okay, now you have an if and an else. So this is where the 2 states come in. We said the else will kick in when it's called the first time. And the reason for this is the if here is only true if vote contains information. And if vote contains information, it means that somebody just filled in the form, right? But let's take a look. Let's just pretend that somebody filled in the form. Is not empty, then data is coming from the survey form, right? Now, second question, if IP not duplicated, and you're going to have, of course, a function that looks at the data, checks the IP number, which we have just retrieved up here, and it's going to look through all the records, make sure there is no duplicate. Now, if there is no duplicate, then we can go ahead and call a routine to save the data, right? Obviously, that's the first thing you want to do. If you have a vote and you have a remote address, an IP address, then you can save the data. That shouldn't be too hard. Then you display the result. Okay, now you have a new vote. You just add it to all the yes and no's, and you just display your the statistics just like you did on the last assignment. And also we want to provide a link to the raw data, because you will have a file in the public HTML folder, and we'll just simply have a link to that data so we can check out exactly what all the votes look like, and we can help you debug. This is also for the sake of debugging our program together. Now, so in other words, if there is no problem, these are the steps you will follow pretty much exactly. You can use these as names of the functions or subroutine. Else, you're going to have to see a message, sorry buddy, you already voted, that kind of thing, right? And then exit. Now, if the program is not being called from a form, then it's going to go to the else, and the module is called from a link, not from the form. So here is your job. You're going to create the form, and that can be a function, and we're going to kind of see more details about that. You're going to display the result, and this is the same function that you create up here already, so you don't have to do anything different there. You just call that function. Is going to display your bars for the yes and the no's, and you already have this link. It's the same link, right? It's going to be very simple. Okay, folks, this is the program right here. Now, we even have pseudocode for the functions. So if you're going to create the form, what is going to happen? You generate the HTML code with print statements, right? To start a form. We've seen how to do that. You're going to use a post method, not the get method. So the post is going to send the data not after the question mark, but internally. Then you're going to display the question on the screen, and you can use radio buttons. Mostly you will be using radio buttons, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute. And of course you'll need to display a submit button so you can push, and that's it. The form is ended. That's all it does, right? This is a function. It's going to be called right here, and this is basically what it does. This is, by the way, the first thing that you should do when you create this survey program. We'll see that in a moment. Also, display the results. Okay, so you call the read data function, which I guess is down below here. You have to, of course, if you're going to display the result, the first thing you have to do is read your data, and that will be a function, and you can put that, as you know, directly in an array ready to be used later. Then you can use you can tally the choices using the hash trick from last week, correct? And now you display the result in numbers or bars or whatever you want. Okay, make it as nice as you can make it, but it doesn't have to be fancy. If you're new at this, don't worry. Just give us the result. That's all we want, really. Now, this function to read data, it's simple, right? You open the data file, and we've seen this a couple times, but you do have that code once again down here. This is here it is. Open in. You can use this label in, and you just name the file. That's all you have to do. And then you just read directly into an array, and that's it. This is the basically all you have to do in this function here. Note, just keep the data array global, okay, so you don't have to worry about its scope, and so you can use this array every time, anywhere in the program. Save data, okay, that's another function, and that's basically the same idea. You open the file, and you're going to open it for appending because you're only going to add one vote at a time. You don't want to destroy the votes that were there before. So you're going to be using this syntax of 2 brackets here. That will open the file, so every time you print to the file here out, you're going to print your variable, which is the vote. You're going to follow that with a pipe, and then your second variable here will most likely be your IP address, and that's all you have to do. And of course a /n, because you want each record to have its own line. So when you read this data, every line will end up in one element of the array, right? So there's your code to save the vote to the file. That's not too hard either. The pipe character is often used to separate fields. We've already used that, and the nice thing about it is that you can use the split command whenever you want to get to the individual pieces of data on this record. IP duplicated. When you get to this part, which is really the last, what do? You call the read data function. Of course, you're going to first thing is to read your data, if it hasn't been called before, depending on how you implement this application. For each item in the data array, you're going to split the line into the 2 values, right, separated by the pipes. And then you just, in the for each loop, if the address data is equal to the user's remote address, and this is the actual field that you'll use in the environment hash, then you're going to return a 0, right? A 0 means it means that this if is not going to be true, so you're going to fall through to the else and give the user a bad message. That's it. Granted, disallowing access based on remote address is less than desirable, but good for the skill set of this exercise. This is just an exercise, okay? If you're interested in using this for real, you can just take out that feature. It's no big deal. Okay, here's an example of a very simple survey. Okay, this is the least thing that you do. Have some kind of statement and question, and then simply a yes and a no. Okay, a button, two buttons there. And then a submit button. Okay, so this is your form. Make it interesting so we all have fun using it and taking it, because we are all going to take each other's surveys. Okay, and then here's your result. And you should know enough about HTML to make big letters or make them bold. And if you want to do things colorful, fine. But this is as crude as it can get, right? This is the same exact printout that we did last week. And here's the link to the survey data. If I click on that, it's going to give me the oil. And this is the particular address that was used. And these are all the pipes. So here are all the votes. And if we have problems, usually you can look into this file here and you can usually tell if something's wrong, right? Very good. Now, the last part. I think we've looked at all the additional notes. This is to read. This is to append. This is to read. Okay, here we go. One more thing which you will need in order to create bullets. How do we do bullets? We haven't talked about that in the class notes. So this is another input type in your form, right? Instead of using text, now we can use radio. Now note that each one of these create one button. And in order for both those buttons to be selectable, they have to have the same name. Okay, this way they'll be exclusively selectable, is what I'm trying to say. So if they have the same name, it means that neither one of those can be selected at the same time. It's one or the other, and then we give the value, the property value is what will actually come back to your program if somebody selects it. So if somebody says no and presses submit, there will be on your param field is going to look for a field called vote, right? And the value that will come back will be n. Okay, so it's either y or n in this case, and so this is the syntax that you should use for the radio buttons. And I explained here the way this works is the field name vote will be sent back to the script via the param statement only if one of the two options has been selected. In the case above, expect either y or n as a value for variable vote, or it will be null, otherwise, in which case all you have to do is create the form. And here's how to approach the project. This is a big assignment, right? And it will take some organization. Sectionalize the program by starting small. This is all what we always do in programming. Start small, run often, add features one by one. Find steps below which exemplify this process, and to help those who've had trouble so far, I'm willing to give you partial points for various parts of this program. So for 5 points, all you have to do is make it create the form. So the way you can simplify your life is by, in the pseudocode, of course, you can just type this, make this whole program right there, right? Of course, you'll have fill in. You won't have all these functions ready, but at least you can have them ready, right? You can have the call. You can create the function below, call it sub save data, and then just do a blank block. Just do a blank block, just so it calls it. Nothing happens. That's fine. So just write this little program right here, and leave everything stand in. And then what the first part says is to just make this always false. So you always go to the else, because the first thing you want to do is create the form. That's it. So you can say if, and you can say 1. If parenthesis 1. I mean 0, and it will always be false, right? So it will always go to the else. So this is the first part. This is what we're trying to explain here. The pseudocode for main represents if and else situation. To begin with, set up the first if to be always false so that you can make it go to the else, since that is something you can do right away. Make the functions which prints the survey form on the browser. That is the first challenge. Code it as a CGI file directly. We don't need to do any PL files here, since this script works mostly on the web. However, complete the syntax debug phase on the shell. Make sure that, of course, it's going to run on the shell first. So this is all you have to do first, right? 5 points for that. Once you have successfully completed this stage, then go for stage 2. That one is 2 points. Once the form works on the web, you're ready for step 2. Add the code to receive the survey result variable from the web using a param statement, as we've done before. This would be a good time to print debug statements showing that the web data is indeed being transferred. And so what you're saying here is you're going to make those 2 lines work, right? You're going to get the variable, but also print it right there. Just give yourself a crude printout, and you might as well do it for both of these variables, correct? So you know that you've pressed your choice. Whoops, this is not what I wanted. You press your choice, and suddenly on the screen you can see the result, and you know, it's working, right? So that's 2. For the next points, that will give you 8 points now. The third step is to save the survey data. So that's another fairly big job. And the remote address, you can also do that. It's not that much more work. And remember that you have your code here, basically right here. It's very close to what should be done. You're going to open it this way. You're going to print statement, and here's the concatenation that you're going to do. It's very close to, I believe, real syntax that you'll use. But you have to check it out. Run your program, enter your vote, press submit, and then open up the file. Just open up that file at the shell and see if the data is in there. Okay, this is what you'll do. During the debug stage of this process, you can open the data file in VI to check how things are going. You don't have to have a program to read the data at all. Just open it and check it out. Next point, create the functions which read the data from file and calculate and display the result. Okay, that is another repeat of last week's exercise, but that's another stage to this program. And finally, when everything else works, okay, do not attempt to do this until everything else works. Then go ahead and finish by inserting the logic which will provide first defense against multiple votes with this remote address idea. Okie doke. So this is it. And finally, you're going to, what we want you to turn, the way you're going to turn in this program is by creating a clickable link on the discussion board to your online survey on your Gen account, so that we can try it and help you with the data. And if there are any problems, you're going to hear about it, let me tell you, from everyone. About this process, this is what you need to type. You type this HTML link directly in a message, right? You should have one message per person. Please do not reply to somebody else and post your link. We want one thread for every individual in this classroom. So if we need to reply and make some comments, we can all have our own thread. So right in the message, you're going to type A, this is the A tag, right? href equal, and we've already seen that in the class notes, right? And here it quotes the address of your Gen account to your survey program, CGI, close the quote. Don't forget that one. I forget that one myself too often. And your survey name, which will appear blue and underlined. Please don't give us just plain old address that we have to copy and paste ourselves. Just give us a clickable link, please. And don't forget to close the A tag or big problems. So this is it. Perhaps one more thing I can do if this program is still running. Oh darn it, it's not. I was going to, well anyway, I sent everybody this testbuttons.cgi program, right? And please make sure that you run this one. It's very close to be stage 1. That's worth 5 points. It even prints a debug statement of the data coming back, so it's really the first 2 stages, and it already has 2 buttons in it, so please take a look at that. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.